You are sent back to the day the Titanic set sail with nothing but a third-class ticket, and food, water, etc. Your task is to stop the Titanic from sinking. How do you do this? Pour custard into the sea. On a serious note, I wouldn't stop the Titanic from sinking as it led to major changes in safety on ships. So the actual Titanic sent a distress signal 25 minutes after it hit the iceberg at 23:40. So signal sent at 0:05. The Titanic then sunk at 2.20 and the RMS Carpathia was a massive ship that arrived first on the scene at 4 o'clock, 1 hour 40 after the Titanic sunk, and saved 712 people that were on lifeboats, but obviously many died in the sea. So what I would do is send a distress signal to RMS Carpathia. Except I would send the distress signal at 20:30, i.e. before the Titanic hit the iceberg, then let the Titanic hit the iceberg, and then RMS Carpathia would arrive at roughly 12:30 am, which give or take is when the Titanic definitely knew she was sinking, and sent its original timeline distress signal, so the Titanic would definitely load its passengers on RMS Carpathia, giving them just under 2 hours to do so before the Titanic sunk. So yeah, everyone saved, but major safety changes would have been made to ships going forward. And just for fun I'd scroll paint me like one of your French girls, so when future subs go down and film the Titanic people will be like WTF does that mean, but time travelers would understand the reference. D. Wasn't this the plot of a 90s PC game? There was something about Serbia and Turkish baths and a notebook. I feel like I'm describing a dream. Also, one of the endings is you taking a painting off the ship, which turns out to be a painting by Hitler and leads him to becoming a successful painter instead of the other thing. You had to fix several things to get the good ending. Apart from the painting, you also had to secure a notebook that would otherwise get Archduke Ferdinand killed. And there were probably more. Maybe some jewelry. To be honest, I've forgotten. I read a Choose Your Own Adventure Titanic book when I was younger. If I remember correctly, the early ending choice was to use your binoculars to point out the iceberg and to convince the captain to divert the ship. So that I sit. I wait. 3 minutes and 24 seconds before anticipated collision, I hand the string quartet 4 pages of sheet music and they play. The guests will hear, for the first time, My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. I tell them that their deaths will bring about the most beautiful song ever written. As confusion sets into the crowd, the song crescendos to the apex exactly as collision takes place. I survive because I pushed some bimbo off a floating door who wouldn't even share it with her boyfriend. I'd trade some of my food for a paperclip. I'd then trade the paperclip all the way up to a house. Once I had the house, I'd sell it and buy a shit ton of paper clips. I'd trade these up to houses and sell those houses to buy more paper clips. Eventually I'd have enough money to buy the Titanic. I'd order the captain to change course and save the ship. Then I'd sell the Titanic and buy a paper clip. The second officer, ranked just below the captain, for the ship was replaced right before the ship left the harbor. This was the guy with keys to the storage room where the binoculars were stored. So on the fateful evening the watch crew could only see as far as the naked eye would allow, hence not enough time to adjust course once they spotted the iceberg. So I'd get that second officer to hand off the keys to the next guy in charge. I'd also stay in London because you never know. Take a shed load of muscle relaxants, take a deep long breath, shove the entire Titanic up my ass. If I remember correctly, they could have avoided the iceberg as they already knew about them. The radio crew of the Titanic was warned about the giant icebergs, but they failed to notify the bridge captain's area where they steer and handle operations of the ship about it. So I just grab their reports and let the captain and the bridge know about it sternly. First I would save a sexy first-class passenger from committing suicide, then I would draw said first-class passenger naked, after that we would have steamy hot sex in the back of someone else's wagon. Later that night I would go and speak to the captain dressed up as if I was a first-class passenger and bribe him with the drawing of the sexy first-class passenger and a sniff of my fingers to steer the ship 2 degrees south on our voyage. Boom. Disaster averted. I go back and find my sexy first-class passenger. We have sex all over the ship until we reach port in New York City. She finds out she's pregnant and we live happily ever after with a huge diamond necklace. You have to get them to change course or slow way the fuck down at some point before impact. As a third-class passenger, the fastest and most surefire way to do this is 10 minutes before impact to chuck someone over the railing and call out a man overboard. The ship turns around for them or at least takes all way off and drops a rescue boat, and the iceberg floats on by. If after all that and the ship gets back on course the iceberg is still in the way, at least the ship doesn't hit it at ludicrous speed. If I had to stop the Titanic from killing all of those people, my first thought is to stop it from setting sail. I.e. setting a fire or even bomb the ship. I know it sounds drastic, but nobody with a third-class ticket had power to save it unless they take drastic measures. I wouldn't be taken seriously as a woman, so instead, hoping we are in the film Titanic, go find Jack Dawson, get a lay, go stand near a lifeboat and use being a woman to my advantage and leave during the first evacuation. If I see the dude in charge, a quick "I told you so" as I'm being lowered down. Get the fucking binoculars. Funny story, there were binoculars on the Titanic, but at the time they were incredibly valuable, so much so that they were kept in a locked strongbox when not in use. The guy with the key to the binoculars was transferred off the Titanic a week before its maiden voyage, and he mistakenly took the keys with him. Did he get in any trouble for walking off the ship with the keys? Wait until the day of sinking, raid the watchtower, knock out the watchman and ring in the iceberg, right ahead 2 minutes earlier. You don't need to do that actually. The main reason why Titanic got damaged beyond saving is because they noticed the iceberg, lately, which prompted them to change course and get a broadside damage. That damaged multiple bulkheads, sinking the ship much faster. If they haven't noticed, they might have had a head-on collision. While that would still be bad, the Titanic probably be saved. The reason being the ship is well protected for head-on collision, the broadside collision. So waking him 2 minutes earlier is not going to save the ship, probably. In the existing timeline, Titanic nearly collided with SS City of New York, a 10,500 registered tonnage liner moored up, on its way out of Southampton, after New York broke its moorings, caused by the displacement of Titanic moving past. A collision might have prevented or delayed the sailing. So, sabotage the moorings of New York before Titanic sets sail, so that the moorings break more quickly and Titanic has less time to react. Maybe sabotage the moorings of the Oceanic that was laid up alongside too, just for good measure, so that the tugboats have multiple targets to rein in. Before I get sent back, I will contract coronavirus. After stepping foot on the Titanic, I start coughing on everything in sight. After 10 days the virus will have spread to damn near everyone, and due to the amount of people infected we have to head back to England. In the long run I will have probably killed myself and more people than the Titanic disaster, but at least I stopped it from sinking. If you like the content, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to hit the like button.